this is a great talk for anybody, no matter what your role at VBS is, because we're kind of explaining what we're teaching. So we think it's really important for everybody to know that. That's really a big deal. And the 7 C's is obviously going through the 7 C's of history, which is really cool. It's really like a week-long gospel presentation. So kind of in-depth gospel presentation. So it's really fun that it's not only the 7 C's of history, but we're cruising through the 7 C's and we're making stops at every one of the 7 C's. And so that's why it's a jungle river cruise. Now we're going through the tropical jungles of the world. There are all kinds, and sometimes you can have like, we're kind of using jungle rainforest synonymously, okay? But it could be a temperate rainforest. We're not talking about those. We're talking about tropical ones. So these are just a few pictures of tropical rainforests / jungles around the world. They're situated a lot around the equator, and they're beautiful. And there's so many plants and animals and great stuff. So it's such a great fun theme, but it ties in so great with this spiritual theme. So we're excited to get to share that with you. And I, by the way, my name's Barb Witt, and this is Matt Hamer. We're the children's directors at our church, and we also are involved developing this VBS.
Yes, and we also get to pilot this VBS. Mm-hmm. We did this VBS just in June at our church, so we're the pilot church, so we get to do it a year ahead of y'all and get to test everything out, and so It was a fantastic year for us, as always. All right, so our books are in 4 different age groups. We have toddler, pre-primary, which is 4s, pre-K, kindergarten, primary, which is 1st, 2nd, and 3rd graders, and then the junior age is 4th, 5th, and 6th. And then when you get into each daily lesson, the lessons are broken down into 3 parts. We have the Introduce It, which is an activity to kind of gather their attention and kind of bring us focused for the day. We have the Teach It, where we go into the Bible teaching for the day. And then we always finish with our Apply It section that includes memory verse and some review.
So the junior and primary, which are the grade school age, obviously have a little more content in them. The pre-primary and the toddler are same lesson, but more simplified. Sometimes we sub out a little bit of the activities that we do for those. And they also have, in the pre-primary and the toddler, they always have a puppet skit, which is one of the favorite things. So make sure that you incorporate that puppet skit somehow into your day. They also have a couple little songs that you can get on the Simple Songs CD, and the kids like to sing those. The puppet can even sing them with it. And they have exploration stations. You can do these little stations in the same room as the lesson time, in a separate room. We do them in a separate room. Or you can just incorporate it into the main lesson. Do 1 or 2. So, as you can see, there's a lot going on in those little pre-primary toddler rooms. They're a lot of fun. And obviously in the primary and junior rooms as well. So I think we're about ready to get going, right?
let's talk a little bit about the classrooms.
Yes.
The classroom layout, you can see the scene setter, which is over here on the floor. I put a picture of it up there as well. And so if you do the scene setters for your classroom, you'll see that it's this river scene, okay? And every day, you'll see there's also a ship's wheel next to the scene setter there. You don't see it in this photo, but every day what we do as teachers, we introduce ourselves. I'm Captain Matt. This is Skipper Barb over here, and we need to get everybody into the boat because in our lesson time, we're going to be taking a little cruise down this river that you see. We did our own classroom sets. Of course, being the pilot church, the scene setters aren't ready for us. We developed like the little nose of a boat out of some paneling so that we kind of stood up there by the ship's wheel, and as the kids sat on the floor in front of there, we all pretended like we were jumping onto the boat for the first day to get ready to head down the river cruise.
Right, lots of fun. All right, here we go. Let's start on our cruise, everybody. Welcome to our river cruise. And before we start, we don't want anybody to get sick or to have any problems, so we need you to take your packets, and we need you to get these 2 little pills out of here, okay?
Yes.
And you're going to notice, you can go ahead and eat these.
Yes.
You're going to notice that these have M's on them.
Yeah, they both have the letter M on them.
They have the letter M on them. them. The one pill stands for malaria.
Yeah.
Because we don't want anybody
definitely don't need
getting
malaria.
sick from an insect bite, right?
Yeah.
On our Jungle River cruise. And the other one stands for motion sickness.
Yeah,
Because
we're
we
gonna be
are
on the
on a
boat.
boat after all, right?
Yep,
so we need
absolutely.
to start off with these. You can go ahead and take those now.
Yeah, go ahead and enjoy those. And as we're cruising down our little river cruise today on day one, what I want you to be looking out for is the color green. All right, today's color is green. So as we're cruising down, look around for anything that might be green as we're going through. And on our little set over here, there is a word that's the color green that's hidden in our set. I want you to be on the lookout for that. It's hidden there. And that word that they're going to be looking for is the word creation. Okay, so when you go over there, you can check it out. These words are all hidden on there. And this is what the older kids' teaching poster for that day would look like. And the younger kids will look like this.
Right, so our first C is creation. So let's do some creating. All right, everybody, if you can grab your foil. Grab your foil. We're going to do a little creating together. What I want you to do, and you only have like 30 seconds to do this, okay? It's fast and furious. But I want you to take that foil and I want you to make something out of it. Maybe an animal, maybe a plant, but something that God would have made, right?
Yeah,
Like
something you would
creation,
find in creation.
So go ahead and do that. And you got to tell the kids, that we gave them a couple pieces actually, so they had a little bit more to work
challenging
with, right?
for the grown-ups.
Little more challenging.
Yep.
You guys only have one sheet, okay? But go ahead and make your thing. And while you're doing that, the younger kids, you may have them do this if they have time. But remember, their lesson time's shorter because of their exploration stations. So you may just do this for them, and they're watching and they're trying to guess what you're making, okay?
Absolutely.
But the older kids, we actually did have them make something, and they loved this. And when they're all done, you have to say, okay, show your neighbor what you made. Show somebody nearby. What did you make? What did you create? Okay? So everybody do that now. I've got to just ask, how many of you made a snake?
Yeah, most of the guys made a snake.
Yeah,
Yep.
I figured.
Are you with me, guys?
The guys
All
out there
right.
making their snakes, right? Okay.
Like done.
All right. Well, after you are done with this, here's the next thing you got to say. All right, everybody. Now I'd like you to take that and put it under your chairs. Okay? We're going to put that thing that we just created under our chairs. And now you are hands-free. Now, you can't really use your hands, okay?
Right.
This isn't part of the deal.
We're not making shadow puppets.
Now
or anything.
what we want you to do is create something out of nothing, okay? Everybody ready? Got it? Okay? On your mark, get set,
Go.
go. Wait, what's
Can't
the
really use your
problem?
hand. Yeah.
Everybody's
What's going
having,
on?
Why,
We're not
how
doing
come
anything.
nobody's doing anything out there,
Well,
right?
they're trying, but it's not really
You can't
succeeding.
create anything out of nothing, right? We can't do that. Well, how about the world we live in? Could it have just been created out of nothing? And if so, how did that happen? Well, there's really two main ideas of how the world came to be. One is really man's idea of how it came to be, and another one is in the Bible, in the first part of the Bible, in Genesis. And we are really big on actually using our Bible, okay? And so, yes, actually show them the Bible.
Yes.
And so Genesis, it tells us about this. This is God's design. This is what he said happened. So let's find out a little bit about both of those ideas, and then we're going to decide which one do we think is true.
All right, so this first idea is the one that man came up with, and we're going to call this the story of Dot. Okay, so I got my little salt shaker here, and I'm going to take out just 1 grain of salt. You guys all see that out there? Yeah, you got that?
Yeah.
Okay, so this 1 grain of salt, this begins with a little dot about the size or even smaller than 1 grain of salt. And this was billions of years ago, this little dot. Now this dot, it was teeny tiny, but it was not light. I mean, it was super dense and heavy, okay? Can you guys see that okay? you know what? Let me blow it up for you a little bit bigger. I know it wouldn't have been this big, but let me just do this for example purposes. What we've done is we've actually put a bunch of letter beads inside this balloon for this part of the lesson time.
And you can have somebody come up
Yep.
and hold this.
And have this. And so, Dot was tiny but very dense. And then all of the sudden, nobody really knows where this dot came from.
No, they don't explain that part.
Don't explain that part.
But anyway.
We don't know where this dot came from, how it got there, anything like that. And we don't really know why, but all of a sudden that dot all of a sudden just exploded with a big bang.
Wow, we're gonna have a mess to clean up.
Yeah, and all the letters go flying everywhere. And so when we get to talking about them, we look at these letters all around, and did they arrange themselves into a book? What about a chapter? They're not even in a sentence. I can't even find a word. I don't even see a syllable out here. So we see that would order from chaos doesn't really seem to make sense.
It really doesn't. We have a little teaching poster
Yes,
that talks about that.
Absolutely. And so this teaching poster says, if a brick factory exploded, would you expect to find a house? Okay.
Right.
Or would you find a big mess? And so that's a great way to illustrate to the kids the story of Dot.
Right, the Big Bang. Now, or we also have what the Bible says. Okay, as we already mentioned that. And so you need to get out of your packet there this little bulletin, and you're going to use the very front of it if you have a pen or something to write with, okay? So now let's go through what the Bible says in creation. And we're going to do a little creation drawing, and you're going to notice there's little circles. How many circles are on that? There's
Very
6 circles on that, okay? So we're going to be talking about the 6 days that God created in, okay? And we're just going to go through them. We're only going to go with you guys through maybe 1 or 2, but this is just to give you the idea. So you just kind of draw along with me. All right, so first of all, I'm going to read from Genesis 1. And again, like I said, we like to actually read. You can read from your phone, but kids are so used to phones for other things. I just really like to read from the Bible. Right? So they can actually, not the Bible, my phone. I mean the Bible, this Bible, okay? You're following me, right?
They got you.
All right. So anyway, here we go. So you're going to draw what it shows up here while I'm reading this. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw that the light was good. And God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. Okay, did you get that first day drawn? You notice that there's light, but it's not the sun yet. We're going to hear about that on another day. All right, let's draw the next one. Okay, so then I would read the next section, which is Genesis 1, 6 through 8. You're going to draw that little squiggly line there.
Right, the number 2 up in the corner there as well.
Right, the number 2, right, okay. So we're going to
2.
talk about God making the atmosphere that we breathe in, okay, making all that. And then we just continue on. So Matt's going to go ahead and show you the rest of the drawings.
Day 3.
You won't have time to draw all of these, but we're just showing you basically the gist of it. And then you read a little bit, they're drawing while you're reading, so they're busy.
And then it's neat to show them on day 4. God fills up what he created on day 1. On day 5, we fill up what was created on day 2. And on day 6, we're filling what was created on day 3.
And this happened not in billions of years with a Big Bang, but thousands of years by God. All right, so we establish all that, and then we kind of have to talk about, okay, which one's right? You know, if the Bible says it, that settles it. If God says it, that's how it was. And he said he did it, didn't he? So that settles it. But what's so cool is the earth just screams of evidence that supports this, which is so fun. And so we go through some evidences of a young earth.
Yeah, so we get to bring in our apologetics points here with the older kids, and we have some teaching posters on evidences of the young earth, so that you don't have to just, the story of Dot, we've already established that doesn't Makes sense, but scientists talk about that a lot. But there's a lot of science out there that points to the biblical account as well. So things like fossils, we go through like I said, the saltiness of the oceans, and there's lots of great evidences that you can talk through with your kids for your apologetics for the day. The younger kids, they do not do that part. We have a puppet script that we don't do the story of Dot with the younger kids as well. We just take them through the story of creation in the shorter lesson that they have. And we have our puppet pal. We call him Jungle Jimmy or JJ. Bought him a nice little tropical shirt at the kids store and everything like that. And so he will take them through the account of creation on day one.
Right, so that's your teaching time. And then you get into, there's always a little review. So for the older kids, you just kind of talk through some of it, ask them some questions, have a little discussion. And there's always an animal pal that goes with this. So our animal pal for the first day is Eden. And Eden is a green parrot. Okay, has anybody caught on to why maybe we named the parrot Eden?
Yeah.
Get it?
Yeah.
This was like so cool.
Yeah.
God kind of threw that idea in my mind this year. It's like, why don't we name them something that has to do with our spiritual talk?
There we go.
All right, so we did. So it's Eden, and it always goes along with the color. So green, and it reminds us of creation. So that we kind of talk through that, have a little discussion with the older kids for the review. The little kids, we play kind of a little game. So here's what you got to do on this one.
Okay.
If you think the answer is yes, you're just going to flap like a parrot, okay?
Okay.
And if you think the answer is no, you have to just get really still, okay? It's always good to get little kids really still, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, here's your first question. Did God make the world in 6 days? Okay. Yes, he did. Next one. God is good. Was everything that God made good? Yes. Easy so far, right? Okay. Was anything bad that God made? No, nothing's bad. Okay, next one. Should we notice the beautiful things God created and praise him for it? That means to tell him how great he is. Okay, should we do that? Yes, we should. Okay, so that's just a couple of them. The kids actually like this little review. So if you have time, it's really good to do with the preschoolers and the toddlers.
And of course, part of our Apply It also is our memory verse for the day. And we give you different ideas of activities that you can do with the memory verse. And so this one, we're going to start it off in the first 3 words. We're going to say it super slow like a sloth. But the rest of the verse, we're going to say it really fast, like a basilisk lizard, okay? Here we go. Are you ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Genesis 1. There we go.
Did you beat him or did he beat you?
I don't know.
I don't know. Okay, so that's fun. There's always something different every day with the memory verse. And then there's the really important part called the go and do, which is kind of the practical application of the whole lesson. So there's all kinds of different things on those go and do's. And it's something like, this is something they would go and do later, obviously, okay? So it's something like, go on a walk and try to find 20 things that God created and praise him for it, okay? That's something you would go and do. Yep. Or maybe you pray, okay, and you talk to God and you encourage them to get in the habit of every day thinking of at least one thing God made that you can praise him for. All right, there's all kinds of different ones. What we do at our church, these are also on the student guides. There's a student guide for every age group, and the memory verses on there, or review activities on there, and the go and do's are on there. So we make sure we send those home, and we make a big deal of rolling them into our contests. So the kids get points if they do each go and do. They get points for every one they do. And you might say, how do you do that? We just take their word for it, okay? But we always have a little talk about honesty, and then we take their word for it. So anyway, go and do's, emphasize them even if you don't have time to maybe get to some of these parts of the lesson. There's so much of these lessons. Yep. But you can send some things home, and they can do things at home as well. They actually kind of like doing stuff, like little homework kind of things at home in the summer with VBS, we've discovered. So go and do's. All
right, and then we're going to move on to day 2. We start the day with this great little jungle trees poster. We do a little tree trivia. We talk about the strangler fig tree and the rainbow eucalyptus tree. But then we get back in the boat and we head down the river again. But this time, You know, yesterday when we talked about creation, everything was good. And today's kind of a dark stop. So we're going to be looking for a dark color as we go through, a word that is dark as well as we're going through our cruise today. And that word that we're looking for is corruption. And the jungle is actually a dark place because those trees we talked about create this canopy. And so when you're down in the jungle, it's actually really dark. The sunlight has a hard time getting in there.
So that's your little intro. And so then we get into talking a little bit more about the fall of all. You guys are going to need your Play-Doh. So go ahead and get your little Play-Doh out of your packet and take the lid off of your Play-Doh. And what we're going to do now is we're going to, first of all, just quickly, they'll review. We won't do the review one. Make something that God created on the first day. But then we'll go ahead and start right in and say, okay, now we're going to skip over to chapter 3 in Genesis. And things are about to change. Okay, so what I want you to do is take your Play-Doh. And it says there that a serpent enters. And you can read this. And while you're reading it, go ahead and make a serpent for me, okay? So we would read this. We would talk to them a little bit about this. What was this serpent? Doesn't specifically say snake, probably snake, who knows? And so you're going to talk about that, okay? And they're going to be making their snake. Okay, everybody, hold up your snake. Let me see your snake, okay? So I'm not giving you very much time, but, and you do have to move pretty quickly on this, even with the kids. But anyway, okay, so after that, you're going to say, you know, and then God told them that there are all these trees. Go ahead and make a tree. Now, you can give them more like maybe a tennis ball size. Okay, I just gave you a tiny little bit of Play-Doh. But they can make a tree. And you can talk about that particular tree in the garden they weren't supposed to touch. And then they make a piece of fruit. And then you say, okay, what piece of fruit did you make? Okay, and everybody made a what, do you think? Apple. Everybody makes an apple. We say, well, you know, it might have been an apple. We don't know what it was. Okay, so that kind of stuff. And you kind of go through this whole lesson doing this Play-Doh thing. And they really, really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun.
All right. For the younger kids, we're not going to be giving them Play-Doh. We are going to play a game called Musical Sacks. And you're going to prep 7 different sacks with a prop that goes along with the teaching time in each sack. So you'll hand out the first one. The kids will pass it around as the music is playing. When the music stops, whoever has the sack is going to pull the item out. It's a snake. And, you know, so each prop you'll go in the right order, and then you'll talk for a few moments about that one, and then you'll play the next round, and you're teaching the whole lesson while you're playing the musical sacks game.
And whoever has the sack and pulls it out, then before you start talking, I would suggest take the sack, take the snake, or whatever it is, so that they're not fiddling with that. But anyway, that was fun as well. Okay, so we get through the whole part about the fall of all and how corruption entered the world, and then we go to our next C. So you've probably done the math and realized there's 7 C's and there's 5 days. Okay, so 2 of the days have to have 2 C's, and this is one of them because corruption and catastrophe go together. All right, so sin enters the world with corruption, and then at one point it's so bad that God judges the whole world with this global flood. So they go together well, so they're on the same day. And with this day, we have a lot of fun because we decide, hey, why don't we pretend that I'm a news reporter and you are a world-famous scientist. I know you know a lot about Noah and the flood.
I know a lot about Noah and the flood.
So where'd that snake go? Here it is.
Right down here.
Here, give me this snake. Okay. This will be my microphone. Okay, I'm going to be a reporter, and I'm going to interview Dr. Mister. Hello, Dr. Mister.
Hello, how are you? Oh, very good to see you today.
Oh, good. Wow, you just got an accent. Pretty cool. Yeah, okay.
Happens automatically.
Yes, it is.
It's the wig.
Yes, it is. All right, so, I know you know a lot about Noah and the flood and the ark. So here's my first question. How big was Noah's ark?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked me that question because the ark was really big. Just look outside. Yeah, it's huge.
Usually we don't have that visual.
Oh, they won't have that at your church.
No.
But you do have this wonderful teaching poster which talks about how wide it is, wider than 2 school buses. The height of it is 3 giraffes on top of each other, and it's longer than a football field.
Right, and then it's like, I'm just amazed. That's huge. And then he continues to go through. We cover a lot of ground through this. There's a lot of fantastic posters that you can show.
Yep. On how intelligent they were and being able to build something like that. They were not cavemen, right? They did have intelligence and tools and skills to be able to build. We talk about how all the animals could have fit on the ark, and different animal kinds, and how you can have many wide variety within their own kind, and how even dinosaurs could have been on the ark, because the Bible doesn't say they had to be fully grown, and we didn't have to have every kind as well. And so they could have been babies. And we also talk about the evidences for a worldwide flood, not a local flood.
Right, so you can see it's a lot of ground that we cover.
We even talk about fossils.
Even fossils, everything. It's a lot, and it's a lot of fun. And so we go through all that, and then we do our little review. And again, after we do that, our animal pal this day is tox. Okay, so tox is short for what? Toxic, okay? Because it's all kind of about this corruption and this sin and everything. And Tox has our 2 colors of the day within him. He's got blue and he's got black in there. And so that's our little animal pal. And then we do our memory verse for the day, of course, always with some kind of little fun way to do that. And our memory verse, let's just say this together. They have all turned aside. Together they have become corrupt. There is none who does good, not even one. So you can see how this is really building a week-long gospel presentation, because we talk about this even like none. That includes us, right? None. All right, so that's all that, and then the go and do's, and that is day 2.
All right.
All right, so then on to day 3. Now we start with this one talking about, obviously, towers, because today is going to be about the Tower of Babel. And our C for this day is our 4th C, and it is confusion. Okay, so we're talking about that, and we do talk, as you just showed that poster, about there's a really tall tower in the Amazon rainforest called the Amazon Tall Tower Observatory, and it was built by Germany and Brazil together. It's a little taller than the Eiffel Tower. It takes like an hour to walk up steps. I would freak out.
Yeah, I'm not going.
Anybody want to do that? Walk up open tower for over an hour? But anyway, it's this huge tower. And there's nothing wrong with building a tower unless you're in rebellion against God, right? And that's what was happening at the Tower of Babel. And so we kind of made our day gray because, it was a confusing day, and they're looking for that word, confusion, over there on that set.
All right, on your kits, you need to get out your little bag of cereal now. And so as we're talking about a tower today, I'm going to be reading from the biblical account on the Tower of Babel. It comes from Genesis, what chapter? 11. They built a tower on Genesis 11. I always remember. Somebody taught me that when I was a kid. Haven't forgot it, so there you go. That one's free. All right, Genesis 11. All right.
Just throwing that in.
There we go.
By the way, we probably don't need to say to you that if you're gluten-free and you can't touch these, but you might need to say that to the kids.
Yes. So what you're going to do is, I'm reading the account today. I want to see how tall of a tower you can build by putting one cereal on top of the other.
All right, let's try it. Let's just try it. I've got to get to Genesis 11.
See
just
how
a
you
second.
do.
Now, I did forget to give you guys a
pieces?
plate. So we gave the kids an extra little plate that they could do this on. So you have to find, a way to be kind of stable there. All right. First honeycomb, first verse. Now the whole earth had one language and the same words. Okay, put down your first one. Here's the second verse. And as people migrated from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they settled there. Okay, second honeycomb goes on top of the first one. Verse 3. And they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly." And they had brick for stone and bitumen for mortar. Okay, put on your next one. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed over the face of the whole earth." Okay, put on your next one. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of man had built. Okay, put on your next one. And the Lord said, behold, they are one people, and they have all one language. And this is only the beginning of what they will do, and nothing that they propose to do will now be impossible for them. Okay, anybody still doing okay? Got it going still? Okay, verse 7. Come, let us go down and there confuse their language so that they may not understand one another's speech. Verse 8. So the Lord dispersed them from there over the face of all the earth, and they left off building the city. One more. See if you can do it. Therefore its name was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth, and from there the Lord dispersed them over the face of all the earth. Okay, so there's 9 verses, and I forgot to say we had them put one down before we started. So we gave them 10, but you could just give them 9, okay? How many of you did it? How many of you, your tower made it the whole way? Anybody? Somebody's did. Yeah,
wow.
Usually you get maybe 1 or 2 that does. It's kind of hard, but you get close. Now don't eat them yet. You're going to need them in a minute.
I wouldn't eat them at all if I were
yeah,
you.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't either. But anyway, we love those widows, but I'm not sure.
I don't know if they wash their hands.
I don't know. So anyway.
All right. And so then we also play, we use the same pieces of cereal when we play our Babel bingo game. So you'll have a Babel bingo card there on your sheet as well.
All right, so get that out.
You.
And here's what you need to do with that Babel bingo sheet. There's 25 spots in your Babel bingo. That's hard to say.
Babel bingo.
Babel bingo. And so what you're going to do is write down a letter randomly, not in order, in each of those spots. So go ahead and do that. One letter of the alphabet. And you may be saying to yourself, well, Barb, there's 26 letters in the alphabet. You just said there's 25. Well, just don't put one in, okay?
Yep.
So use 25 letters, put them randomly through your Babel bingo, and then we're going to use those honeycomb. Now, if you don't want to use food, you can use something else to build your towers, and for your Babel bingo, just like blocks, like dominoes, whatever, something like that you have, something little that's flat. It has to be flat, okay? But use something. This works, of course, they always love food. So, all right, so you should have your letters randomly within that Babel bingo board. And what I'm going to do is draw a letter out. I don't have the draw cards with me, but you're going to draw a letter out, and then there are all these little things that you say that all have to do with the Tower of Babel, because of course it was a super important time because everybody spread. And from that spread came all the different people groups that we have. Now we have different shades of skin, we have different shapes of eyes, all these kind of things. Okay, and so it's a really critical teaching, and so they're gonna learn a lot through this Babel bingo. So let's just say that I pulled out F. Okay, so put one of your honeycombs over the F. Okay, and then I'm gonna say to them, F stands for flood legends. And there's a poster for some of these, but not all of these. This one has a poster. So a lot of cultures have a great story of a flood, right? Okay, and it sounds very similar to the true account of Noah. Where did these come from? Well, it's because it really happened. And they really took that story with them, didn't they? And then it's all over the world. And that's why we have flood legends that sound so similar all over the world, because it's based on Noah's flood. So you teach them that, okay? Then maybe let's just do one more. Let's do C. C stands for cavemen and women, okay? Some people believe that there were once these primitive people who were kind of like ape-like, and that's how we started, and we weren't intelligent. But we know that's not true. I mean, people have lived in caves throughout all civilization. People still live in caves. Did any of you do Zoomerang? Okay, you might remember us talking about those caves in Cooper Pedy, where people still to this day build their houses. They have a whole town down there. Okay, so that has nothing to do with your state of intelligence. So the people who were there were highly intelligent people. They were building this tower and this city, it says.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can continue on, and you're playing bingo with them, and you're trying to get 5 in a row or whatever, and you can start over as you go. But it's just a fun way to get a lot of information in.
The younger kids will be...
Woo! You couldn't have gotten it yet. Really did too.
Congratulations. The younger kids will be playing confusion concentration, we gave you an example of these concentration cards. They'll get 2 of each of these cards. As you teach through the lesson, you will tell them, okay, take out the card that has the picture of the earth on it, and you'll do the teaching and talk about that. And then you'll go through each one of those cards as you teach the lesson. They have 2 of those cards at the end. They're going to put them face down and play memory or concentration with those cards.
Concentration. And then you do your Animal Pal review. Our Animal Pal this day is Scatter the Silverback Gorilla. Okay, silver is like gray. And we picked Scatter because the silverback gorillas really like to hang together. They don't like to scatter. And so that's kind of how the people at the Tower of Babel were. They didn't want to scatter either, right? They wanted to all just stay together. So you do that. Your memory verse. Our memory verse for today is that last verse in chapter 11, because it's really kind of the whole account of the Tower of Babel all in one verse. And so we did that, and then you go through your go and juice, okay? And that is day 3.
And day 4, we start off with the cutest activity of the week. Guess the baby jungle animal. Anybody know what that is? A what? Yeah, I heard somebody say it's a baby tapir. Okay, this one's a little bit easier. That's a cute little baby. Yeah, that's a cute little baby sloth. This next one is the cutest yet largest rodent on the planet. Yes, do you know what that is? Capybara.
They're pretty good.
Yeah,
Keep
they're
going.
excellent at this. And of course, we go through several different one of those, a jaguar and the giant otter and these little guys. This is a sun bear. Yeah.
So cute. So we talk about those babies and everything, all those jungle baby animals, but we talk about how the most significant baby, and obviously not an animal, was born, and his name is Jesus, and we talk about Christ, okay? So that's our next C, Christ, and we give him the color white, and we're looking for that word once again. And so then we go through our gospel presentation. So you're going to need this color cross, which is on the very back of your bulletin. Now, in reality, when we did this, the kids had the 7 colors. They don't need white. So really, they had 6 colors. You could take, if you're using crayons or colored pencils, the black can also become the gray, just depending on how hard you press on it. But they need at least 5 colors, okay? So they're going to do this, and you're going to be coloring along with us as we share the gospel, okay? So up there in the first one, everybody, what was the first day C? Do you remember? Creation. So let's go ahead and write the word creation in there, and then with your green pen or your green marker or whatever, you're going to go around the perimeter, and you're going to color that all in green, okay? Right, we talked about, so you do that while I'm talking, okay? We talked about how God created the world. It wasn't a big bang. It was God making it in six days and all that. And then we go through, because of time, we're just going to bop through this really fast. So you go through all 7, and you get all the way down into Christ, and then the 6th C, which is cross. And we go through the whole thing, present the gospel to them. We talk about Jesus is almost like a bridge, across the Amazon River. 35 miles wide in places. It floods. It has up to 16 feet high waves at times. It has piranhas and all these other dangerous things. There's no way you could get across by yourself. But Jesus is like the bridge, okay, that gets us there. And so anyway, it's a longer presentation. We'll skip past that. But that's what we do there. And then we finish it out that day, obviously, with our Animal Pal.
Our Animal Pal that day is rose, because our 2 colors are red and white, and rose is a pink dolphin. So when you put red and white together, you get pink. And of course, the name rose is because Jesus rose. There you go.
And you probably might notice there's something hidden in that poster. Do you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the cross is in that picture as well. Okay. So we're going to skip over some other things on day 4. We have a fun review game, but we won't do that right now. And so day 5, we get on to day 5. We talk about some man-made creations of the rainforest, tree houses, zip lines, all this fun stuff. But they are nothing. They're super cool, but nothing compared to what God is preparing for those who believe in him. Okay, because there's a time coming. This is all going to be completed. It's all going to come to an end, and we're going to be in the new heavens and the new earth for eternity if we are believers. And this is a great place and time to review the gospel. And so we talk about this last sea, and it's bright yellow to remind us of this time. I love this day. We play a game called the zip line game, and we're going to show you how to play it real quick.
Yeah, so we create a little zip line, of course, and on this zip line we've got some point cards, a few of them flipped over there, but find a way to kind of hang this up. And so you're going to ask the kids a question. If they get it right, they get to come up and draw a card. And the way that we love to play this game is you get to draw up to 3 cards. So you can keep accumulating more and more points as you go. But on this zip line are some cards that say zip. That means if you draw that one, you get no points for that round. But there's also some cards that say zap. And if you pull a zap card, you go back to 0 for the whole game, all the way back to the beginning. And so the kids are like, they're cheering, take one more, stop, stop, stop. And so it's a really fun game to play with them as you're teaching the lesson and reading the questions and having them come up.
Right, and the questions are so powerful because it's all about what is it really going to be like in the new heavens and the new earth. And we kind of establish there's a lot of ideas floating around out there. Where do you go to really find out for real? Okay, you go to the Bible. And we talk about a lot of things. Do believers float around on clouds and play harps all day? Do we do that? Okay, we ask them, we can't even imagine how amazing heaven will be, and they have to say true or false. And we talk about, do you think there'll be different colors there? Do you think there'll be different animals there? Like, it's just such an exciting time. And we kind of try to talk about the things that are true and aren't true that they might have heard about the new heavens and the new earth. And so that game is fun. We always play our games pretty much boys versus girls because you can't beat that.
Yeah,
we always
nothing
get
gets
into
them more
it.
excited.
Right, and then we get into our last
Our
animal
animal pal today is Bliss, the birdwing butterfly. And if you notice in the background of that poster, you see the little caterpillar there. The caterpillar is dark. And it's got these little spiky red things. And there's just this tiny little bit of yellow on that caterpillar. This is the caterpillar that turns into the birdwing butterfly. And when you're not a believer, you still were made in God's image. We reflect God a little bit, right? But when you trust Jesus as your Savior, He completely changes you. And so we have the metamorphosis teaching, and you see the large bit of yellow that then comes into Bliss, the birdwing butterfly. And it's the only animal that's not completely the color of the day, but it really illustrates that point of how you can better reflect, you better reflect God once you become a believer.
Mm-hmm. And especially when we get to the new heaven and the new earth.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay. And then we have, of course, our memory verse, and this is one. Don't you love this verse? Let's just go out on this verse because it's so great. Let's say it together. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and death shall be no more. Neither shall there be mourning, nor crying, nor pain anymore, for the former things have passed away. And I just about burst into tears just thinking about that because there's just not going to be death anymore. There's not going to be crying. There's not going to be any of that stuff. It's going to be amazing, and you are going to love this last day. We didn't really get to go through a lot of what we're going to teach, but it is packed full of amazing stuff, hope-filled stuff. And so do you see how it's kind of really a week-long, exciting, big deal gospel presentation? Yep. That's what it is. And so I hope you get excited that you get to share this with the kids, whatever your role is. Now you know. Now you know what we're going to be talking about the week of VBS. All right, so are we good? All right. Thanks, you guys. Make sure you ask us any questions if you have any. We'll be here.
Thank you.